Yeah, the many questions for the PDP and so many things just going on. I know, you could expect that they'll tell you, it is politics. This is politics. Well, we know how to solve this, but who knows? Will they say this is family affair again? We'll find out. Marpa?
Indeed, Chamberlain, we are just about to. We have with us this morning Mr. Debo Ologunagba, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Good morning, Margaret.
Just in case you're about to say it's a family affair, The Guardian has this. Rumpus and PDP over calls for Ayu's removal, Wike's shabby treatment, and look at this one from this day. Autumn undecided about support for Atiku once Wike placated. So those are some of the stories right now on the front page of the dailies. Whether or not you like it, Nigerians will be interested to know what precisely is happening within your party. So what exactly is going on? Have you been able to mend fences with those who have been offended by whatever has gone down in the party since the primaries and the selection of a vice presidential candidate?
Yeah. Good morning, Margaret. Thank you very much. And morning, Chamberlain. Well, I'll start with this, and I think that's the first question that I need to respond to, which is the newspaper reporting about some imaginary rumpus within the party. I can say clearly that there's no division, no crisis, rumpus within the party. What we have is, we believe, is a misinformation or by mischievous people trying to cause division or probably imaginary division within the party. What happened was Dr. Ayu, the national chairman of the party, after the primary season, went on a short vacation outside the country. And in line with the constitution of the party, he formally handed over the affairs of the party to the Deputy National Chairman, His Excellency Iliai Umaru Damagon, as required by the Constitution. And again, as required by the processes and requirement of the management of parties, that this was formally communicated to INEC. So INEC is aware, as are the country, and the parties are aware, and there's no crisis whatsoever. So those are imagination. We saw it yesterday on social media. And of course, we know it's fake news to distract us from our goal. And of course, the party is not distracted. We're united, we're focused, and we're doing that which we plan to do, particularly in our mission to rescue and begin the hard work of rebuilding the country.
The response which you seem to be giving me seems to be in answer to a question I haven't asked yet. No. Because you said there is no rumpus in your party, and you're talking about mischievous, you know, I don't know whether this is tweets or something, which seem to be questioning the status of the party's national chairman.
No, what happened is I'm just
whether
responding to you.
Whether or not he's still the party's national chairman.
No, I responded to you when you said the rumpus. You actually used the word rumpus, and I'm just trying to quote you on that.
Yes, and
your reference was into the reporting in the newspapers today, and I'm responding to that. And so to clarify that there's no rumpus, using your words or from the papers, and saying to you what is the position. I didn't have to wait for you to ask me what is the position, than to tell you the clear position, so that again that we can put that to rest, and then get to the main issue, which is what is the position and the position in the party. And so I guess
you haven't even read the detail of the rumpus. I mean, you don't know what precisely. Because
there's no rumpus. Why would I be knowing detail that what doesn't exist?
I mean, we are not the ones who are inferring that there is a rumpus within your party.
You're referring to your party.
No. We're referring to those who have been speaking within your party. Yesterday, we also heard from the former governor of Ekiti State, Governor Ayodele Fayose, talking about how he intends to support a southern candidate because it is the turn of the South, almost inferring that he might not be supporting your presidential candidate. Also yesterday, the governor of Benue State granted an interview talking about how God hasn't spoken to him just yet on who to support. And the details of that is right here within the story, carried by the dailies as well. I'm sure you must have seen the interview he also granted. These are members of your party. Right. This is not the public inferring a rumpus where there is none. What do you make of the statements of these important members of your party?
Yeah, thank you. Let me establish this. Governor Otom of Benue State and former Governor Fayose of Ekiti State are respected members of our party. As party men, we know they are leaders and they've contributed in their own substantial quotas to the development of the party. We recognize in our party, because it's democratic, for people to air their views and their opinions, and we take those seriously. With respect to the comment by former Governor Ayodele Fayose, he's entitled to opinion. But the good thing about democracy, and particularly in PDP, is the fact that we are democratic and we don't suppress opinion. We allow free flow of opinion and ideas so that any member of the party can express their views, and they're entitled to those views, and we can't question that. But what we do as a party is that the moment we take a decision that is substantially within the members of the party, of course, we expect, and like we know that every member of the party would key into the position of the party when it is taken democratically. Now, Dr. Otom, another very, very important member of the party, and key member, particularly with respect to the management of the party in the past years, we know that he equally expressed his own view. And he referenced something which is very important, that is waiting on God's directives. I guess every human being will do that. In the major decisions of such, whether you support in a particular position, of course you seek God's face in everything that you do. And I do know, because as a party man who has contributed immensely to the development of this party, I know that at the appropriate time, these issues relating to management of the party and how to take action to ensure that there's synergy and unity, and more unity in the party will be done. And I know, I trust that these leaders would, at the appropriate time, would come in.
What issues are you referring to precisely?
Saying the concern that they expressed based on what he was reporting. And the
the concerns amount to a rumpus.
Well, concerns, if you call it rumpus, probably you're trying to expand what it is. Look, in PDP, we call it differences. And in politics, it's about differences of opinion, of your interests. And it is the ability to manage those differences that makes a party successful. And PDP is very good at that because we have internal differences resolution mechanism, and that's already in place. In any event,
it's a matter of choice of words. You do admit that all is not exactly smooth running right now, and it would seem that all of the important, you've called them respected members of your party, are not exactly on the same page right now.
Yeah, look, politics is about interest. And because...
It's a direct question, sir.
No, I'm going to explain that. I mean, again, when you ask me a direct question...
Yes, I will need it there, yes or no, and then you can go on to the explanation.
Again, I will recognize the fact that when you have a party as big as PDP, there'll be conflicting interests. There'll be different interests and consideration. However, just like in a family, you have misunderstanding, but you come together as a family and discuss it. And that is ongoing. And because reconciliation, discussion, it's not a one quick fix. It's a process. It goes through, like I said to you, it's a marathon, actually. It's only dash. So when things happen, when it comes to position and contest, of course, some people will be uncomfortable or unhappy with the decision. But the capacity of the party to come around and have those interests reviewed and come together. That's what makes the difference between our party and others. So I can tell you, the PDP, are there differences? Yes. Is there a process to resolve those? Yes. Is that ongoing? Yes. Is it as fast as we'll expect or hope? Maybe not.
Okay,
However,
can I ask you, what are the differences over?
It is about, I mean, it was clearly stated that certain things ought to have been done. Maybe such as reaching out to those that didn't win at the primaries. And of course, that's going on. The vice presidential candidate, Dr. Okoa, the governor of Delta State, has been all over the place talking to party members. Only yesterday, he met with the National Working Committee of the party, at the party secretariat. Those are things that goes on. But because this is not, like I said, one button fix, it is a process. And in this conversation, you expect several comments coming along the way. However, the important that this party, the PDP, has a structure, have the organs that are positioned and are strong enough to take care of this and resolve whatever differences there are. And I can tell you that, and I'm confident that we're making progress surely in all this, right? Because in any event, politics is about differences, but resolution of it that makes it better.
Let me flip this conversation to Lagos. Gentlemen.
Yeah, how do you explain the about 11 governors who were absent from that Osun campaign inauguration?
Well, I can't explain that, but I do know apologies were sent in. You will recall that the announcement for the constitution of the council was made on Tuesday morning. It was published. And of course, the governors, some of them will have had their engagements. And if they can't, of course, they send in apologies and we recognize that. So there's no issue about that not being able to be there. A whole lot of other members of the party were there at highest level. The vice president candidate was there, the governor of Taraba was there, all members of the NWC were there, and a whole lot of other members that are important from Osun State, where we have the election on July 16th. So not being there, there were apologies sent in, and they were comfortable with what we have. But what is important for us is that we have put on a committee that is charged with the duty and the responsibility of working with the Osun State chapter to ensure that we succeed at the July 16 governorship election in Osun State.
So do we also infer that apologies were sent in during the announcement of the VP candidature, and then apologies sent in this time? So does that mean that apologies will also be sent in when PDP goes to campaign in Osun State?
Again, I mean, these are semantics, and you are putting this, and that's your own imagination, that if an apology comes in one or twice, then apologies to continue. That is not so. We are set for the campaigns in Osun, and what I can only say to you, just watch and see what will happen in the next couple of days when that process begins in Osun.
It's not my imagination. It happened during the announcement of the VP candidature. Many did not show up. Many governors didn't come. It happened again this time. So an historian say, you know what a man can do by what is done before. So on that basis, okay, well, if you say it's our imagination, I guess we'll wait and see if they will show up.
Absolutely.
At that time, because they've not showed up twice now. Yes. And so if it happens a third time, then it's no coincidence. Even though some already say it is not a coincidence now, which will hold you and ask you questions of when that time comes. Mm-hmm. But additionally, will the chairman, Yocha Ayu, step down? Because many have quoted him saying he was the one who said he will if the party produces another presidential candidate.
That's a question for Dr. Ayu to answer, not me. But I do know something, that this party, like I said earlier, has capacity to resolve its differences or its operations internally without any rancor. That question will be for Dr. Ayu. You said he's quoted to have said that. I'm not aware that he said so, but if he did, of course, you ask him when you see him. But clearly, I can't answer to you on whether he's going to step down or not, because that is clearly outside my own contemplation or probably my knowledge at this point.
Well, it's interesting, Mr. Ologunagba, that you put it that way, because there are those who have said, even one of our guests, first guest this morning also said that the practice of your party is that when there is a presidential candidate of a particular region's extraction, the national chairman of the party, would be of the other side. And that was one of the arguments of Mr. Fayose, who says, look, the constitution of your party, I think section 3C he quoted, says that respects the rule of rotational presidency. And you also saw it in the quotes that we put up earlier. Then you also listened to Governor Tom, who said, look, there is wrong that has been done to a very, very critical, important member of a party who is a governor in the state. And then add that to the mix of 11 governors that, Chamberlain just told you now, that didn't show up at an important meeting. And yet you say there is no rumpus. I'm just wondering, tying all of these together, isn't there a connection somewhere, or you think they're just happenstances that people should just look away from?
No, again, I mean, we are willing and we're ready to have conversation with Nigerians. And in any event, for any party worth its name, it must be open to Nigerians for them to ask questions. And I'm happy to have this kind of conversation with you. Look, like I said earlier, in a party, what you find is reconciliation of interests of different areas. Now, you reference people not being at a meeting, the governors. And I've just said to you, there were apologies sent in. Now, the next issue is about whether we can tie all this, considering the fact that certain steps ought to have been taken. We recognize the fact that, yes, perhaps speed has not been applied to certain actions. But like I said, because we have a system that takes care of all these concerns, that is ongoing. We don't put that on TV. We don't say that on the pages of newspapers. Negotiations, reconciliations doesn't happen to be in the public. That is ongoing. Maybe the speed, yes, we recognize that. But I do know that every organ of the party at this time is engaged in ensuring that every sector, every stakeholder, key stakeholders in particular, are involved in the reconciliation moves, because again, in any contest, there will be losers and there will be winners. It behoves on the party to come together, and we're doing just that. That's ongoing. It's a process. It's a marathon. It's not a dash. It might not be as fast as we have expected it or loved to be, but I'm sure surely that we, as PDP, will get along ultimately and ensure that we focus back on the main issue that the 2023 election is about. Well, our mission to rescue and redeem Nigeria. I think that's us, what is more important for us, and we ensure that we're focused on that, and ensuring that as we do that, we put our house in order, get more unified, and then move ahead to that bigger mission, which is actually about Nigeria.
Well, there are those who will wonder if the PDP is unable to organize itself within such a short time, only made the gap bigger. I mean, then they wonder if the PDP has the capacity to put Nigeria straight. The comments, also came from Governor Okowa, who is the vice presidential candidate of your party, who says, look, we have to find ways, that the party has to find ways of bridging the gaps of division among the party. He said it himself at that meeting that, other 11 governors were unable to attend for reasons that you said were sent in. So one is wondering if the PDP has been having issues before the convention and it only got worse after the convention. And there are important people in your party that are raising issues and raising red flags. Isn't it something to look at? I mean, you spoke the other time about the fact that it's a family issue. Doesn't that raise a question about the head of the family?
Again, can I take us back a little bit? So it may not be correct to characterize this party as not being organized, and therefore they won't be concerned about its ability to be able to rescue Nigeria. You recall October last year when we had the national convention that produced the National Working Committee. It was celebrated like a carnival. And you could see the organization of the party ever since. We're moving from one set of plan and policy implementation to the other. The next time we went into a retreat. And then the most recently was probably the best ever organized national convention. Seamlessly so. That tells you a party that has a character organization and its ability. But again, like I said to you earlier, politics is about interest and reconciliation of those interests. So what you find is the fact that when there are differences, of course, because we are democratic, we allow people to air their views, no censorship. So you find this coming up. But when it comes up, what we do is to recognize that it exists. That yes, there are differences, and then we make effort and ensure that we allow that to solve those differences. That's what the vice president candidate, Dr. Okowa, was referring to. That indeed, of course, we recognize there are differences.
If you don't mind me
try
butting
to
in,
ensure that
just 1 second.
Whatever gap that exists, that there be.
Just 1 second, Mr. Ologunagba. I'm a little confused about the two words that you've used now. On the one hand, you said politics is about interest. In my mind, I just asked whose interest. And then you talked about democracy. Is it in the interest of democracy? How do personal interests, if they are personal interests, work for the interest of democracy? I'm a little confused.
Okay, let me put it in perspective for you. When I said interest, of course you go into politics for interest. It could be cultural, it could be religious, it could be personal interest, but that does not, it has to subsume itself into the greater interest of the party and of course of the country. So when I say that there's no contradiction there at all, yes, individual interest comes in. You might want to contest for a position and you don't get it. That's, of course, that's a personal interest. Even though you might have the real mindset to perform public duty. Like you don't get it, you could be disappointed. Yes, that's an interest. It could be a regional interest, it could be cultural, depending. However, all these are subsumed in the interest of the party, and like I said, larger interest of the country. So I don't see contradiction in what I've just said. It's just to explain to you that in democracy, because we allow for airing of views, we don't, no censorship, that allows you to raise your concern or your interest, and of course we resolve that using the mechanism within the party that is solid, that is robust, and is there.
Well, we know you are the image maker of the party, so you have to make the party look good. But at the same time, we'd like you to express yourself. No censorship, as you've also said. So tell us, has the party been able to reconcile those 11 governors, including Governor Wike, who may not be happy with how, after voting for the nomination of the vice presidential candidate, and then it went the other way? Did you hear that?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No, I didn't hear you.
All right, so has the party been able to reconcile those aggrieved governors who voted in the vice presidential nomination and then it went the other way?
Reconciliation is an ongoing process. I referenced that earlier. Reconciliation is not a one quick fix. There's a process to do that. Like I said, reconciliation is not a one button fix all. You go through a process, you have negotiation at different levels, and then of course that is ongoing. And we have a robust mechanism within the party that is taking care of that. And I can assure you that ultimately this party will come stronger, will be more united, and then we'll get focus on the main issue, which is the rescuing and rebuilding Nigeria, of course, from the state it is right now.
Can I just quickly ask you about the position of your party on the fact that the current presidential candidate is from the north, and the chairman of your party is also from the north? I do not know what your party, how your party is handling that, because we understand that there are those who feel that situation is not right.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is been asked differently in another way earlier, but I can tell you this. This party is organic. It has processes. And what this party will do will be to sit down and look at the whole situation and make a determination one way or the other. So for me, it's not for me to determine whether president candidate is from the north, the chairman is from the north. It is for the party. And that is part of conversation. Like I said, we're not conscripted. We're not restrained to a particular conversation. Everything's on the table. And I'm sure those are issues that the party leadership will take at the appropriate time. For me, this party is running well. We have our processes that we're following diligently, and we're focused on the very important mission of this party, which is our country. Because we need to have a country before we talk about party. And we know that in doing that, all issues must be considered. Fairness, equity, and all that, and particularly the unity of this country. We're focused on that. We're conscious of that. And we do not want to take anything for granted. We know that these are issues that we must discuss. And when we discuss that and have a resolution, of course, one, for the good of the country, and of course, for the good of the party. So we're focused on that. These issues are all on the table, and we discuss that. But I won't give you one opinion here or the other, because again, we're guided by our constitution, we're guided by our processes, and of course, and we know we're a dynamic nation, and of course, a dynamic party. So we know that.
Okay, we'll see how matters eventually pan out in the PDP. They still have a good time before the elections, even before the campaigns, which we understand is supposed to start in September.
Correct.
So we'll see how eventually you're able to resolve the differences that you have within your party. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. Mr. Debo Ologunagba is the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party.